Hello everyone, I am Dr. Gunjan Desai and I am a consultant GI and HPB surgeon in Mumbai and Navi Mumbai. So today we are going to discuss what is safe laparoscopic cholecystectomy. And as you can see in the image, this is a corollary where when you are dissecting these areas, sometimes you see a lot of structures there and it needs a lot of finesse and orientation to get through cholecystectomy safely. Next, please. So in this talk, we are going to cover the following points. One is what is safe and why talk of safety. The next is the preoperative factors which affect the safety of laparoscopic cholecystectomy. Next is the intraoperative factors. Next is the bailout strategies. This is that when you get stuck intraoperatively, what are the different strategies that you can utilize to be safe and finish the laparoscopic cholecystectomy safely. Another important point from surgeon's point of view is consent, and I'll briefly touch on this. And the last point is documentation. So let us see these points one by one. First point is safe. So why safe? So for the patient trusts the surgeon, and this is akin to a child trusting their parent. So we have to be very cautious and keep the patient safe in the terms of biliary injury, but also in the terms of the risk of gallbladder cancer. So this is not commonly discussed when we discuss lap chole, but this is an important point. So for patient, the safety is preventing injuries as well as preventing incidental gallbladder cancer. And for surgeon in today's world, as we all know, the litigations are increasing and therefore the consent and proper documentation will give you a safety net in which you can operate these difficult cases in a safe manner. So this is why safety is important. Next, going to the preoperative factors. So there are certain factors that when you see the patient in history and examination, you can make out whether the case will be difficult or not. So in history and examination, these factors are male gender, age of the patient. As the patient age increases, the difficulty increases. Presence of fever or basically presence of symptoms or history suggestive of acute cholecystitis. So this is also a very important factor. If the current episode has been more than 3 to 4 days, then it is a difficult surgery and you should be prepared for a difficult dissection. Again, history of upper abdominal surgery, you should be ready to tackle adhesions in these cases. And these are some of the preoperative factors which predict a difficult laparoscopic cholecystectomy. Next, going into the investigations, elevated CRP or C-reactive protein and elevated leukocyte counts in studies more than 18,000 leukocyte counts again predict a difficult lap chole. Next is some ultrasound findings, and these are wall thickness more than 5 mm, impacted stone at the neck of the gallbladder, over distended or contracted gallbladder, and presence of Meniere's syndrome or a cholecystoenteric fistula. So these are again ultrasound features which should alert you that this is going to be a difficult case. Now coming to imaging, how to select if you need tests more than ultrasound? This is one of the important questions. So we see the liver profile, and if the cholestatic markers are high, that is if the direct bilirubin, gamma glutamyl transferase or alkaline phosphatase are high, we should do an MRCP to rule out a lower common bile duct stone before proceeding to surgery, as well as keep a low threshold for intraop cholangiography in these cases. On the other hand, if the hepatic markers are high, we should rule out infective hepatitis. And on ultrasound, if we see a very thick walled or irregular wall of gallbladder, then these are the cases where we should rule out incidental gallbladder cancer as well as xanthogranulomatous cholecystitis, and further imaging should be done for these cases. Last but not the least, pancreatitis is a big menace when we are doing gallbladder surgeries, and with serum amylase and lipase, even this should be ruled out in appropriate clinical setting. So here you can see for a patient with abnormal alkaline phosphatase at our clinic, MRCP helped us in two ways. One is the aberrant insertion of the duct, the right posterior duct, and the lower arrow is the common bile duct stone, which we removed by preoperative ERCP before going for a laparoscopic cholecystectomy. You can find cases like these where you can see severe gallbladder wall thickening. Is it malignant or not? You should discuss with your radiologist. Significant pericholecystic fluid on MR and gallbladder perforation. So these are some of the features that should alert you for a very difficult laparoscopic cholecystectomy. So when you see these kind of cases, you should be very sure of the question, is laparoscopy safe and feasible in these cases? Next. Now this is a simile that I use very commonly. Here the girl represents the gallbladder, but there are some features in the patient which should alert you that despite having a simple gallbladder, this surgery may be difficult. So what are these factors? One of the most common factors that we see are chronic liver disease. There are a few other factors such as diabetes as well as blood thinners. So a patient on blood thinners and a patient who has diabetes, we should be very careful in taking those patients for laparoscopy because they have silent inflammation. Also, you should rule out incidental gallbladder cancer and be aware of a small hernia which may be present in the umbilicus. So these are some of the silent factors which may make your surgery difficult. So now going to the consent, once you have seen the patient, seen the preoperative workup, what are the points that should be included in a consent for safety of the surgeon and the hospital? One of the most important point is to never write only laparoscopy in the consent. Always keep an SOS open option, and this has to be explained to the patient. Also, if the case is difficult, also keep an option of SOS subtotal cholecystectomy. So these two options as bailout strategies should be mentioned in the consent. Anesthesia is always general. ASA grade comorbidities as well as the grading of cholecystitis should be mentioned in the consent. So detailed consent also includes incidence of biliary injury and management, incidence and management of wound infections and bleeding or vasculobiliary injuries, as well as a short note on what the predicted postoperative course will be. So this is how the consent can be procedure specific, and this is the current guideline of the different safety nets that we have, such as Medical Council of India. All of them want now a procedure specific consent to be medico-legally safe. So now going to the intraoperative factors, and this is where we will spend some time. You should be ready with the equipment and you should be well versed with the equipment that you are going to use, because each hospital will have different companies and different types of instruments. Some of the important equipments I have highlighted. One is bipolar. We use bipolar very commonly in laparoscopy, and it saves the cost of harmonic, and it gives a very good dissection if you are using Merrill and bipolar. Second is for difficult cases, you should have a laparoscopic aspiration needle, and infant feeding tube is what we use for the cholangiography. Laparoscopy needle holders, of course, should be there. And gallbladder as a routine, we extract in an extraction bag. So that should also be available. If you don't have an extraction bag, you can use the inner bag of the camera cover or inner bag of the tubing for irrigation. So don't discard those bags from your trolley. Now going to the key steps, the first step is port placement. And this is very important. Next slide. So now going into the port placement, as you can see in this diagram, we use the first 10 mm port infra-umbilical open technique. And you can see this technique on the Eduser YouTube channel as well. We have put our technique there. We use an open technique for the first 10 mm port insertion. Following that, the epigastric port is placed, and then the two 5 mm ports. Care should be taken that the camera line and the 5 mm port in the subcostal place don't fall in the same line. And the second important point is that the port should be such that if you need suturing, the triangulation is maintained between the epigastric port and the farthermost lateral port or the subcostal port, whichever you use for your suturing. So now we see the placement. The monitor is at the right shoulder of the patient. The surgeon stands on the left hand side of the patient opposite the monitor. The first assistant is to the tail end or the leg end of the surgeon, and the second assistant is for gallbladder retraction. Table is head up and right side up for these cases. And very important point is that you should be aware of the laparoscopic trolley as well, and the troubleshooting points for the CO2 tubing, as well as gas leaks, as well as light source and recording equipment if you have them. Now the first step after this is retraction of the gallbladder, which is done by the second assistant. And this retraction has to be towards the right shoulder. So it has to be upwards and towards the right shoulder as shown in this diagram. After this comes the first and second timeout as per the culture of safety, and you have to identify the landmarks. Now, which are the key landmarks? As you have seen in our liver anatomy videos, the two most important landmarks are the Rouvier sulcus on the right side of the liver and the base of segment 4 on the left side of the liver. So these two landmarks form a imaginary line, and the most important point is that your dissection should always be above this line. It should never go below this line. So this is the first important point. So as you have seen in our videos, why Rouvier sulcus is given so much importance as a landmark? This is because the Rouvier sulcus has the right posterior pedicle. So if you dissect below the Rouvier sulcus, there is a chance of injuring the right pedicle or the right posterior pedicle. Similarly, the base of segment 4, below it is the fissure where the left pedicle goes, and there is a chance of injury to the left pedicle if you dissect there. That is why this imaginary line and landmarks are very important. Next. So now the planes of dissection, as I have told, you can see the Rouvier sulcus, which is clearly visible in this case. The plane of dissection is above the Rouvier sulcus, and you start separating the belly of the gallbladder or the body of the gallbladder from the cystic plate. We do the posterior dissection first in the dotted line, and after this we do the anterior dissection. So again, you can see here the plane of dissection has to be above the base of segment 4 or the umbilical fissure. Another landmark for this is the cystic node. So if you are dissecting anteriorly above the cystic node, there are very less chances of injuring a major structure in these cases. So in acute cases, the cystic node may be inflamed, and this may help you in identification of the anterior dissection plane. Now coming to the most commonly discussed point, and that is why I will stress on it a bit less, which is critical view of safety. I am sure all of you know about it. So critical view of safety is clearing the planes between the lower 1/3 of the gallbladder and liver, which include loose areolar and fibrofatty tissue, so that you can see the liver across the gallbladder and only two structures, which are cystic duct and cystic artery. So only these two structures should be seen entering the gallbladder. This view has to be achieved on both sides of the gallbladder, that is on the right side or the left side, but it is named as anterior CVS and posterior CVS based on the dissection. So here you can see the anterior CVS. Again, you can see the dissection is above the Rouvier sulcus. You can see the cystic node below, and the cystic artery and the cystic duct very clearly seen. You can see the liver from within this area. This is the anterior critical view of safety. On the other side, when you turn the gallbladder on the other side, you can again see the cystic duct. You can see the posterior cystic artery, which is prominent in some cases. And you can see the liver through this window on both sides of the cystic artery. So this is posterior critical view of safety. So why this is important? This is a 2020 study when the critical view of safety was given by Strasberg, and it has stood the test of time. a recent study has shown that when they compared cases of bile duct injury versus no bile duct injury, the CVS was achieved in less than 50% in cases of bile duct injury present, versus it was achieved in around 75% of cases with no bile duct injury. So this paper very clearly says Strasberg, yes, and it's published in Surgical Endoscopy Journal. So after critical view of safety is achieved, some steps are very easy, which are clipping or suturing based on your technique. The duct and the cystic artery, we do the artery first, the duct later, 2 clips below, 1 clip above. After this, dissection of the remaining gallbladder from the gallbladder bed, then we secure hemostasis and then specimen retrieval in a endo bag. So we always use endo bag. So now coming to the other part of safety, critical view of safety is discussed a lot, but this part is one which I wish to highlight. This is bile spillage and use of retrieval bags, and laparoscopy has now been found to be one of the significant factors for increasing the incidence of incidental gallbladder cancer. So as laparoscopic surgeons, we have to be very careful to avoid bile spillage, because bile spillage reduces the survival significantly, and we should avoid port site contamination. So these are two key messages that I would like to give in this topic. So preventive strategies for incidental gallbladder cancer. This is the second part of patient safety. As I said, review the imaging so that you don't miss cancer on imaging. Complete intraoperative evaluation during the laparoscopy. Avoid GB perforations and bile spillage. Remove the specimen in an endo bag. Avoid port site contamination. Always open the specimen and inspect the mucosa prior to closure of the closure and the patient awakening. You should always inspect the mucosa of the gallbladder. And always send the specimen for histopath. Yes, there are a few studies now which say it is not required, but as of now, looking at the incidence of incidental gallbladder cancer, our recommendation is to send the specimen for histopath, especially in countries where the gallbladder cancer is endemic. So the second last part in this talk is bailout strategies, and this is what to do when critical view is not achieved. So if you have seen our video, we have already published 3 bailout strategies on our YouTube channel, which you can see now if you have not seen. Retraction problems, as I have discussed, you can clear with the aspiration needle. But the most important problem is what to do when critical view of safety is not achieved. So this is a frozen calyx in one of our case where the critical view of safety was not achieved. So in these cases, what are the options? The first thing is you should pause and you should review your landmarks. Many times it happens that you get carried away in the dissection and you get disoriented in the surgery, because laparoscopic field is a tunnel-like field. So you should always take a pause and review your anatomy landmarks and discuss with your first assistant and second assistant. So this is very important. Second is, if you get a gallbladder neck very easily, you can open the gallbladder neck, pass in an infant feeding tube and do an intraoperative cholangiography. Next. This is very important. If you are planning on using further bailout strategies, before that, it would be prudent to call a senior laparoscopic surgeon for help and opinion. Sometimes the vision, they can see something that you may not have seen. So that is also very important. If none of these are feasible, the next option is subtotal cholecystectomy, which can be a fenestrating subtotal cholecystectomy where you don't take sutures on the gallbladder remnant, versus a reconstituting cholecystectomy where you close the remnant. If none of these work and CVS is still not achieved, the most prudent step now is to take your senior's advice and convert the case to open. I again say this is not a defeat of the surgeon, but this is a prudent decision for safety of the patient as well as of the surgeon. So conversion to open is one of the most important strategies. So after all these steps are taken, we come to the safety net for the surgeon, which is consent first, and now after the surgery is documentation. So what all points you should include in the documentation, I have already discussed, but I want just to highlight a few of them. One of them is liver texture. A lot of us miss this finding. If you see a patient having cirrhosis, it should be mentioned in your OT notes. Next is CVS doublet view, whether achieved or not. So that is also an important point. If you have done an intraoperative cholangiogram, why was it done and at what step of surgery was it done? Again, if you take a decision for subtotal cholecystectomy, you should mention that in the notes why this decision was taken. Next is clip and suture. If you have used, you should mention, and hemostasis, again, you should mention that hemostasis was secured. Apart from this, your port placement can be a diagram. So a diagram of port placement, a diagram just to show the landmarks. Next. Again, extraction in the specimen extraction bag should be documented. Next is drain. If you have placed a drain, that should be documented with the reason why you have placed a drain. Spillage should be mentioned because this can affect post-operative stage if an incidental gallbladder cancer is detected, as well as sometimes the spilled stones can be a source of infection. So spillage should be mentioned in your note. And if there is a spillage, you should give adequate lavage. Retrieval site of the bag should also be mentioned. Next. Port site sheath closure is again a very important point, as patients can have post-operative hernias. So that point should also be documented. Duration of surgery and blood loss. These are two other points that you should mention in your documentation. So these are some of the very important points that you have to mention. Also at the end, you have to mention that you opened the specimen and examined for the mucosa for cancer, and that the specimen was sent for histopathology. So these are complete points that you should include in your OT notes to be medico-legally safe, as well as to have a complete overview of surgery in case you need to review the records. So to conclude my talk, the safety is for patients as well as for surgeons, as I already discussed. So just giving a safety checklist. As far as the disease of the gallbladder goes, you should rule out things other than cholelithiasis, and that is CBD stone, pancreatitis, and incidental gallbladder cancer. Next. Difficulty in the surgery, you have to discuss the silent factors. As I told you, the lady besides the tiger, diabetes, blood thinners, cardiac history, these points have to be considered in decision making for a difficult laparoscopic cholecystectomy. Surgical timing, weight of the patient, and male patients are tricky. Consent, as I have already discussed, you should include the salient points in the consent. Most important is the patient comorbidities and SOS open and SOS subtotal, as well as a mention of vasculobiliary injuries and its management. Next. Surgical factors, patient position and the table position is important. The landmarks, Rouvier circles and the base of segment 4, and critical view of safety on doublet view should be established. Bailout strategies in surgery, if critical view of safety is not achieved, is cholangiography, if not subtotal cholecystectomy, and a prudent decision would be to convert to open if all the above things fail with the help of a senior. And last point is documentation, where key points are bailout if used, gallbladder prevention of cancer related points, and landmarks and critical view of safety. So this is the safety checklist that you should keep in your mind. Thank you very much for your attention.